you could look at an instance like that in every match and say this happened or that happened, but you didn't get it. And apart from that incident, did you deserve anything else out of the game? No, they didn't.
So thank you for joining us here on Drive 105 Matchday live on FM, or you may be watching the replay on our feed on YouTube, which we make available too. But we talked earlier on, Eddie, about the possibility of the response coming from the tournament side. He did talk about they needed the response. Is that it?
Well, at the end of it, when you look back and analyse the match, I think they won comfortably. You've got to say Eddie Beach hasn't had one. Drogheda did hit the bar in the first half, but he hasn't had one save to make. So when you take into account, I think Derry were more dangerous going forward, and I think 2-0 is probably a fair reflection of the play.
Was the Shamrock Rovers performance a turning point? Has the Brandywell return sparked anything else?
Well, you know what, as I said last week, it's going to take quite a few performances before, we're confident in ourselves. And, it was edgy, there's no doubt about it. It was still a bit edgy there until they got that second goal. Deserved the second goal, don't get me wrong. The pressing by Michael Duffy O'Reilly was brilliant tonight again. But the focal point to have a voice up there, I think it takes the pressure off the team at times. Not comfortable, but you know what? It's going to be the result that's remembered tonight, and the fans are going to be happy here. It's just onwards and upwards, so hopefully. Is
the return to Brandywell on this brand new service possibly a key to what could happen in the second half of the season?
Well, you'd like to think so. Anything at all that helps the team is welcome. I think it's just down to the players. I mean, other teams are going to come here that like to play a bit of football, so the pitch will suit them as well. So I wouldn't say it's the pitch is a key factor in it. I think, to be fair, Drogheda were poor. They carried very little threat. You could see with the reaction of their manager a number of times now he wasn't one bit happy with several aspects of their play. So they can have no complaints. We're well beat on the night.
For Derry City, Stephen, has this been the ruthless performance they've been needing?
You know what, we've kept a clean sheet. They were pretty ruthless, I suppose, in a sense. I mean, limited the opportunities for Drogheda because you expect, long balls and that. Kareem was a bit of a handful when he came on, to be fair, holding up the play. He gave Paddy and, a few decisions they make on there, but they dealt with it, they done well. Cope with anything that they threw at them, which maybe in the past they didn't. I think it was at the Rem penalty the last time they were up here, came and settled the game. But that's how
I was in Drogheda.
I was in Drogheda. So that's the kind of knife-edge performances they were. So to get the second goal and relieve the tension around the ground too, especially, I think, and just for the fans in general, us relax ourselves. It's a completely different kind of, after match conversation that we're having after the second goal. You feel a wee bit more relaxed then.
Eddie, Adam O'Reilly says before the game that Derry City needed to take more risks against teams like this, and did they actually do that tonight? Were they able to show a bit more cutting edge?
Well, they've won 2-0, so that would tell a story, but I thought at times they could play the ball forward a bit, not just hoof it, but there was times you could probably hear me groaning. They could get the ball in the half-turn and play it forward that bit quicker, and they opted for the safe ball going back. Not that you want to take risks, but once you get to the top of the halfway line going into the attacking third, I think you're quite entitled to try a pass, try something. But when you look back, they beat Drogheda 2-0, a comfortable win, 3 points. What's the tick of playing about, really?
Let's look at the first goal. It was Cameron Dummigan in the 28th minute. Set piece played and punched out by Dennison, lands straight at Dummigan. It wasn't about power, it was about accuracy.
Placement, top left-hand corner, and funny, when Derry got caught in the next corner, Dummigan actually joked about it. He was standing free again about 30 yards out, and I could see Kevin Doherty screaming. I think it was a Buckner to get out and mark him, and it took a wee while for Buckner to react, and he did get out because they obviously see that. They didn't pick it up the first time, but they weren't going to get caught twice on it, but at that stage it's too late.
We talked about Adam O'Reilly and his contract negotiations before the game. Cameron Dummigan's another player waiting for a contract. Is he worthy of one?
I think so. Dummigan, I know he's a lot of injuries, but he seems to be back near himself again now. I think, like I said, Dummigan, O'Reilly, whoever's, Fleming, if they're good. If you want to do the deal now, settle it down. So we're not going to go at the end of the season and bring in 9 new players. That they're strangers. Like throwing every transfer window, you bring in a pile of players. It's like throwing 2 dice. Eventually, you get 2 6s. And it'll maybe work for you, but most of the time you don't.
Stephen, a lot of supporters will talk about the injuries that he's had, and maybe it wouldn't justify it, but where do you stand on it?
And bringing in loads of players, do you?
I'm about Dummigan.
And Dummigan, no, definitely here. Get him signed. I'm a great admirer of him. What he gives the team, he gives you that flexibility as well of different positions. He mightn't necessarily want to play in different positions, don't get me wrong, but there the night, don't get me wrong, took me a wee while to get started, you know, and arguably he's got goals on him, do you know what I mean? He has goals on him, and that's what he shows. And then I think he's thought about hitting it with one foot, and he just dinked it onto the other side, and he still had room to pull it away and just placed it perfectly under the net. And he as you said, there was a couple of other threats where he's not afraid to pull the trigger, and we were talking before the game, pull the trigger from outside the box. Well, there's the perfect player to be doing it, do you know what I mean? Because if he keeps finding that for him and getting a goal every 2 or 3 games, you know what I mean, that would be some return, and that alone would warrant a contract, you know, for what he does.
It was almost a complete performance, because in midfield he was battling around. It was almost the Cameron Dummigan that we signed.
It was, and he's not a player that makes runs in behind defenders, in behind defence. He's content in his own skin. If his job is to sit, you know, in front of the defence, which he does, you know, quite a lot, or if a centre half steps forward, he fills in. So he's got a football intelligence about him. But sometimes you get players and their job is, you tell them their job is to sit in front, you know, and just shield the defence, but they want to do more, they want to go forward and do other things. I think he's content to do the job he's asked to do, and as Stephen says, the other string to his bow is when he gets it, when he's in that position and he's sitting 25-30 yards out, you know, he can certainly make it count.
Leo McLaughlin has got in contact, says, great to see a good result tonight, never know, we might win something. Will Derry City fans get a bit swept up in the occasion and the result?
No, just not yet. Do you know what I mean? I know we have a cup match coming against, well, obviously a few European matches, and good luck to Derry and them. But we've Toka Rovers coming up here, and you know, you can get our great bring down, you know, very quickly in football. As I say, every week, just week by week. As I say, I know Kane was on about 16 cup finals, but you know what? Them performances, the Bulls, the way at Rovers, well, forget about the Galway one in the meantime. There's 4 performances. I suppose one bad one. We've had 3 decent performances out of 4. We can't argue with that at the minute, to be honest with you, and I'm happy enough, and it's the way things are going there tonight. We can't complain. 2 goals at the new Brandywell pitch, so happy enough.
But you can't really forget the Galway one, that's the problem, because the league table won't let you, and that's how cutthroat the table is.
Well, this is it, and you know, I'm not too sure. I must just look at the table now where that actually sits us now tonight, because as you say, you know, when I always say if you've won 3 games in a row in this table, it suddenly catapults you up, and like I think the Pats Bows, I'm not too sure if the Bows Pats match is over either. They're not yet, but Bows were 1 up, so Pats there, you know, they think they sniff an opportunity, but then the winners as usual is always Shamrock Rovers. They just pull away, you know what I mean, at Wool in 3rd gear then kind of thing. But hey, it's the rest of the league. I wouldn't say we're still in that mid rift, as you call it. Do you know what I'm saying? But if we can get 3 or 4 wins now with our league, I know where it's out of our hands. We're going to go down the table a wee bit inevitably, maybe, you know, over the next month, because we're not playing league games. But here, look. We're starting afresh. We've got kind of European football, cup football to think about. We'll think about the league come the 3rd of August, whatever, or 30th of July, whatever, and just take it from there, and hopefully a cup run as well. It's funny, fans can, you know, in a few ones and fans are happy again.
Just say, you know, the league table, it hasn't really changed Derry City's position. They are still in 6th, 1 point behind Shelburne, who play Sligo Rovers tomorrow night. The only team that this has benefited tonight is Waterford, who are now only 2 points behind Sligo Rovers in 17. So they'll be looking to try and leapfrog Sligo over the next while. So Johnny Russell's men will have to battle against a toughened Shelburne here without a manager tomorrow night. But they get to the 2nd goal now, Eddie. You know, you see the ball go forward towards Michael Duffy. You think he's going to take it. He doesn't. Lays it off to Adam O'Reilly unselfishly. It was a fantastic counter-attack.
It was. I think it came from Drogheda were attacking. If I mind correctly, I think it was Buckner lost the ball and Derry broke. And we spoke earlier on, whenever Drogheda did try and push men forward and Derry broke, you know, they looked at the most dangerous. And if you're from a Drogheda point of view, the last man you want to see on a break with the ball at his feet, 1v1, is Michael Duffy. You know, because he can go left, he can go right, he can shoot with either foot. And the temptation must have been, once he cut in his right foot, to try and curl it into that far corner. But he kept his composure, fought the team first, slipped it to O'Reilly, and he finished it well. He slipped it in the far corner. It was a great goal, you know, from a Derry point of view.
They only had one real opportunity, Drogheda United, to really talk about. It was the one that hit the crossbar from Aluya. They just offered nothing coming forward.
Nothing at all. The fact that they did hit the bar, but the fact that Beach has not had one save to make in the entire match in 90 minutes for a team, even when they threw on Curran up front, this is, sometimes when you're watching the match, you got a gut feeling. You're saying you were nervy. I wasn't nervy at all. I just couldn't see. The only thing, unless somebody made a blunder or there's some sort of a mistake at the back or a set piece or something, the
penalty kick.
But I couldn't see them scoring from play at all. So the nervy bit didn't get to me tonight, I have to say. But I thought Derry were worth their win.
We did talk them up about the goals that they scored. They were only one goal behind Derry City in terms of what they scored this year. And then in the end, they looked toothless.
True. I thought that there was a stage where I mean nervous. I think there was 3 corners in the space of a minute there in the injury time, and that's where I was kind of coming from. I thought, no, definitely not. That's the last thing you want with all them big boys in there. But as you say, weathered the storm. They didn't threaten in the end up. I don't know, Dee, for Drogheda, as you say, I don't know the way forward. Can they score goals against other teams around us at the minute? That's a question. Kevin Doherty, I think he's chopped and changed. That's the second time he's ran with the same team in something like 6 games. There was 4 changes prior to that each game, from what I remember. And he's one of them ones. He's tinkering at maybe is he tinkering at the right time with the team, the wrong time? That's questions he'd asked himself now, without a doubt. You know what I mean? Will he try and settle on? He's got a few choices up there for big men. It's just whether they've the 90 minutes in and looking at them. They're big, strong, and not so much athletic in a sense that they're going to get in behind, but they'll hold the ball up and win you headers and things like that. But they don't have the wee man they run off. If you know what I'm saying, they have 2 big giants on there, and you can't play 2 big giants up front. And I'm assuming that, don't I?
Well, you can play 2, but the thing is about 2 big giants, you generally find they're not pacey. And from a Derry point, if you're looking at Derry's defence, most of Drogheda's play was in front of them. There was nobody making runs, and there's nothing worse as a defender for boys making runs in behind you. You're in the turn and balls getting played in, which, as we pointed during the match, a few times when Derry did make runs in behind, Drogheda didn't even match the runs. You could see Kevin Doherty a couple of times screaming at his players because Derry got in and maybe got a cross in, or maybe they got in a good position but didn't take advantage of it. So I think when you're playing against big men, if everything's in front of you, what you don't want is somebody getting to the byline and crossing it, but they never got wide, they never got into good positions for them to do that. So I think, to be fair, I think that was Dummigan getting the man of the match. Is that what that was?
Yep.
In proper order.
Yes. 50th minute, Brandon Kavanagh had an opportunity and it went wide of the post, but in the build-up there was a foul and a call for a penalty. I have seen one person say online, a Derry fan, say it was a stonewall. Right. But how did you see it?
Well, to be fair to myself and give myself a bit of wriggle room here, I'm 70 yards away. But what I will say is the referee was right close to it. The player went down. Sometimes, to be fair, the player's reaction would have said something untoward happened. The referee didn't give it. It came to Brandon Kavanagh. He tried with the outside of his left foot to curl it into the far post. It just, again, slipped just wide. So until I see a playback, it's hard to comment on that.
How do you see it, Stephen?
One of those ones, I'll be honest, it was just too much kind of from the distance as well. I wouldn't really comment, but there's a couple, as you say, was saying, but mixed reactions again. It's like any penalty, and when depends what way you want to look at it, and these rules of the game, and there's so much that happens in a game that you're not going to get every single thing completely right at the end of the day. But there was no real I always go with the players sometimes, and was there that big a protest, from the Drogheda players?
Well, the players in the immediate vicinity of it certainly it seemed to make a stern claim for it, and but at the same time, I hope Kevin Doherty, I don't think Kevin Doherty come out and say, well, look, if the penalty was a game change, because Derry were better than them on the night. If you look at it, you could look at an instance like that in every match and say this happened or that happened, but you didn't get it. And apart from that incident, did you deserve anything else out of the game? No, they didn't.
Looking back at some of the other chances, Seydak had an opportunity off the crossbar. It was another brilliant attack down the left hand side that Brandon Fleming wrapped in. It's just he just couldn't get it above the shot.
Who was that?
Seydak.
Oh, when Brandon Kavanagh went down.
when Brandon Kavanagh went down the left.
We're not going to hear the end of this.
It was playing for Derry. So, to be fair, he took it really well. It came across his left foot. It was set up perfectly just to curl it in at the top left-hand corner, the top right-hand corner. He just got under it and it skimmed the top of the bar. But that was it. Over 95 minutes, that was it for Drogheda.
there was parts of the game that he was moving into that spot. He just back up. Liam Boyce is almost a supporting striker. How did you feel he played in midfield, Olyanka?
Olyanka was, I thought he done well, and I thought he made runs in behind, especially earlier on. And again, late on in the game, I thought they were trying to push him on, and he done well. He just managed the game. You're a goal up. There was only 5 or 6 minutes to go. You didn't need to push players forward. And I think he done well. He's got a bit of energy about him. He gets about the pitch, and I couldn't really criticise him tonight.
Waterford are in a fantastic run, and they're here next week here at Brandywell Stadium, which you can actually hear live on Drive 105's Match Night Live, by the way. They're probably one of the informed teams in the league. Yeah, they're bottom of the league, yes, but look at the points that they have gained, the amount of ground they have picked up since that draw against Derry City earlier on this season. This isn't going to be as easy as people think.
No, I don't think so. I think they've got a bit of momentum behind them, and that counts for a lot. Once you win the 2 or 3 matches, especially see an away win in Dundalk. There's not many people have went there this season and done that, and that will give them a huge boost in confidence. So that'll be next week. I'd be looking forward to seeing that one.
Does next week make you more nervous than tonight, Stephen?
You know what? No, hungrier, Dee would be the word, because an unformed Waterford, it's going to put Derry on their toes. We'll have to put on a good shift, a good performance. That's what it's all about. And if Waterford are looking to change a manager to come up here and play some football, which obviously they did at Dundalk the night at Royal Park, as you say, very 2-0 down, come back and won that match. It's no mean feat. And I'm sure Waterford will be up for this next week. And the one thing about Waterford, draws are no good to Waterford down at that end of the table at the minute. They might look towards the end of the season and think maybe a point might be enough, but I think the way the Reds vein of form they're on, I think they're going to come up here personally and go for the juggler. I think they're just the way they did tonight, maybe just go for the juggler as such.
Yeah, it's going to be another big game next week when Waterford do come up. It's going to be an exciting one that I'm very much looking forward to. But we've already heard Leo's comments. Do you think it'll inspire the supporters that may have decided they weren't going to come back after what they saw in Celtic Park, or previous to the season, they possibly come back and support the red and white next weekend?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, the thing about Waterford, they're scoring goals. Their team, since your man came in, he's got them well organised, and they do score. They've got a couple of boys that are putting the ball in the net, which will pose a threat for Derry. They'll need to. I don't know what sort of game plan or who's going to be available. There's a couple of injuries, maybe. I know you see James McLean hobbled off there. Darren Markey doesn't look like he's going to. Well, I hope it's not too bad. But when you come on as sub and come off again 5-10 minutes later, it doesn't really look very good. But it's a match to look forward to. Be fair, I'm hoping it'll be an entertaining match. As you say, Stephen, I think Waterford probably would need the points, so they're not going to come up here and sit all the time, sit and hope for a break. I think the way they play, any time I've seen them since the new guys came in, they've went forward and created chances.